I think it's a bit more difficult because of COVID, but in general, I'm a big fan of taking part in congresses, going to many conferences, because this is how you learn. This is how you meet your peers. And this is how you, all this networking thing happens during congresses, right? And this is how you can meet someone with whom you can cooperate in the future. Of course, well, do not expect that on every congress you will meet an outstanding researcher with whom you will start cooperation. But it really broadens your mind. And then if you have a chance, just go abroad, challenge yourself, try to widen the branch you are interested in. So don't be focused only on one very little thing. We are in 21st century, so maybe you can learn some AI methods or some more sophisticated statistics, or I don't know, just try to be not an expert of the very little thing. Try to gain a bigger view and to be more skilled. In general, I would say that PhD is to become a better researcher. It changes throughout the years, so being a good researcher 20 years ago also meant something different than it means right now. And maybe you should also think, how do you see yourself in 10 or 20 years if you want to stay in academia or if you want to go to industry, because this is also important. So maybe I would definitely say that what we should be focused on is to develop as many skills as possible.
Okay.
That's a tricky question, because you can have a situation where you were very successful in publishing, but the techniques you use are routinely based, so you will not be very competitive in the work job afterwards. Now, I recommend choosing a technique that is kind of cutting edge, and that you look in advance for what position the university is looking for and what techniques will be good to master before applying. Yes, well, it's a balance that you have to get between publication and techniques. No publication, people will ask what happens. If you have a lot of publication, people will think you're an expert, but if it's just the same technique, it's not good for your CV either. So yeah, for the curriculum, I would recommend new techniques, cutting edge science, and a minimum of publications.
During the first year, I think like it's the very first thing to figure out for the first year, I think, is what you want to do in the long run. Like, we can go back to the previous question, because you probably want to develop yourself like a little bit differently if you want to go academia and if you want to go to industry, and you probably want to develop different things, like different skill and different experience according to what they require from these two fields. And I think it's important to figure out what you want to do in the long run. And the second thing, it's always good to figure out what kind of skill you will need in the following 4 years. For instance, like, you will always need to write, and like for publication or for your thesis. So it's always good for the first year to have some like writing courses and to train yourself to be able to write in academic way. And also, like, if you're doing like experimental lab work, it's probably good to get the license. Like, as far as I know, people who do animal experiments, then they need to have this license. So it's always good to have that one as soon as possible as well. Mm-hmm. And like for me, I need to do like programming or like deep learning stuff. Then it's always good for me to like build up that part that I know going to be used in the following years. Then I think it's good to just build up that part when you still have like free time in your first year, compared with like second, third, and you're filled with different projects and also writing tasks. And yeah, I think that's the first year. If I would redo my first year, and that's what I would do, like just to first figure out what I want in the long run, and second is to build up the corresponding skills.
it's a bit unfortunate perhaps that it works like this, but articles in high-ranked journals, sure, if you are for some reason able to publish in what Nature, Cell, German Psychiatry, Lancet, yeah, sure, that would help. Getting grants will help, even smaller ones perhaps. Yeah.
Exactly. So this again comes with the skill set that you have learned through your research, because with research you just don't focus on just one type of methodology. You have to keep trying and figuring out different types, and this is also in wet lab and in dry lab, and dry lab focuses more on computational techniques, for example. So one person should have both the concept of both wet labs and dry labs. You can't just outshine only in wet labs, for example. So your CV should have a mixture of both your skills in the laboratory.
Yeah, but that is the very first thing to decide is what you want to do in the long run. Because if you want to stay in academia, then for sure your research output is very important, because that's one thing, like people evaluate how you did your work, and also probably just drawing like rather bigger like project experience, that's also help. And also like if you want to stay in academia, probably you should also gain some experience on applying for grant, this kind of thing. And but in long run, if you looking forward to staying in industry, then probably at the beginning is your skills that matter the most, because it's just your PhD topic will always focusing on one topic, and it's probably going to be kind of narrow, but the skill that you learn during your PhD will be always valuable like you go for industry. So from my personal perspective, I think if you go for industry, then your skill is rather important. And of course, your academic output can also be kind of provement that you have that skill. That is also important. Yeah, I think in the long run, it depends on which direction you want to go. Then it will like change what make your CV better.
All right, so let me deconstruct, because there's multiple questions. So how do you build up a good CV?
Yes,
I feel like I'm the last person to ask that, because I don't really care much about the CV. And it has to do with my previous answer as well.
Yeah.
It's just a list of trophies. And even in my sport, like, so I did like a competition like 2 months ago, and I became third, and you get a little trophy. That's great. I really don't care about it, but it's a nice candlestick right now. So, yeah, listing your trophies on a CV, I hope that in 5 or 10 years or 50 years, the whole idea of showing off your trophies and that means something is something of the past. That we have different ways to see quality in each other.
What do you think we could do instead? Because if we don't know the person, it's hard somehow to...
Yeah. Think about that. You know, it's at the core of this problem lies that whoever you are, whoever Cyprien is, can be caught in a deterministic vision. So what I mean with that, we can look at Cyprien, we can say, this is how strong he is, this is how fast he is, this is how smart he is. And we have speed for that. We have poundages for force, and we have IQ for intelligence, and we have this for emotional intelligence. Like, we can deconstruct you like that. And then on the basis of those information, we can say, yeah, Cyprien is a good addition to our company. And I think we need to, I don't think we can do that. Because you're a human and you're way more complex than all these deterministic values. So at the end of the day, yeah, the only way to see if you're a good fit for a company is to meet you, to do things with you. I don't know. And stuff like that, yeah.
Okay.
Because let's say I was the boss and you're a new employee. The only way, I feel the only way to really get to know you is to do things with you. I can look all day at your CV, but your CV is something artificial. And that is the problem as well. Like we give all these like CV courses, how to make your CV look professional, how to make your CV look this. But it's such a protocol. And I feel like if I would be, how do you call it? Like a department lead. All right, and we need a new doctor for a position. And I get 20 CVs. All these people, they went through the same courses as all the other people. And they're all smart kids. They all watch the YouTube videos on how to perfect your CV. So they all start off with the same information. They display their courses and whatever they've done, their accomplishment. They explain it pretty much in the same way. They're all being told, you got to keep it at one sheet, nothing on the back. Start with a picture. Smile at the picture. Let the picture come first, because then people have a good feeling about you. Like you have all these like I always like lame psychological tricks, and I feel like, yeah, if I would look at those, yeah, oh God, here we go again. All these kids trying their hardest best to make them look themselves not like themselves. You see, so again, I would abandon the idea of the CV. Why don't you go to the person that, like, if you want to have a certain job, why don't you go to the person that is deciding who's in the job? Just talk to that person. Show that person who you really are, and not behind a facade of a CV. That's what I would think is a solution somewhere. And I can imagine that maybe for your viewers as well, like these are pretty young people. They don't really have a clue yet, or they need more information on how to go through this system. And that is fine. I don't have tips to make your CV look better, to make you fit more into the system. All I can do is say, do that. Just know that you're in a system and decide for yourself if you want to fit into that, yes or no. Because at the end of the day, you're something else than that system. And if you put your CV in a certain way forward, you're presenting yourself as, I am really good at being somebody else. Do you get that? It's the same with wearing a tie or a uniform. What you're saying is, I'm really good at not being myself and being exactly how I think you would like me to be. Well, I think that's incredibly boring.
Okay.
And sad, even. But that is the society. And you can do that, fine. Go get a good job. This is what you need to do. Go excel. But just realize that you're giving up yourself a little bit.